There's a statement that says, if you want to get a job done, ask a busy person. It's really true, because those people who are busy are part of the law of inertia. The law of inertia states that a body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. I think that's the second law of Newton's laws of physics. Is it the second law? Tell me, somebody that knows quickly. I could have Googled that, but I thought I knew it. I thought, now I'm looking at it, all the scientists in the group, thinking, tell me. Okay. Now, this is really true. I mean, it works for all planetary objects. It works for anything that's in a vacuum or that is wherever it might be. It works. Everything that's in motion tends to stay in motion. Everything at rest tends to stay at rest. This works in our bodies as well. So I'm going to ask you a question. This is Lent, the Lenten season, and some of you, first of all, how many of you made some kind of intention during Lent? Did anyone make an intention during Lent? Okay. And the question is, the Dr. Phil's question, how's that working out for you? Okay. Right. Some of us also made New Year's resolutions, or we quit making New Year's resolutions long ago for a reason. And that reason is that a body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. So what we do when we're doing these agreements that we make with ourselves during the Lenten season, or these times that we're making these New Year's resolutions, or any other time in our life, we're doing this because we want some sort of change to occur. Well, what happens for us is the law of inertia is a law. It's there. And we say, I'm going to change this characteristic in my life, or I'm going to give up this in my life. Now, most of us know that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind, and that the universe does not recognize a negative statement. And I can easily prove that. I've done it many times. You all know how that works. Close your eyes and do not see a polar bear. There he is, right? Because the universe does not recognize the not in there. All it recognizes is do, see, polar bear. Bang, there it is. And it works in all of life this way. So the law of mind action tells us that anything we say we are not going to do is what we focus our attention on. Anything that has attention on it draws energy around it, and that's what happens for us. So let's say you gave up sugar. Now, sugar is ubiquitous in our society, or ubiquitous, however you want to pronounce it. It's everywhere. It's in things that don't even need sugar in them. It's in sweeteners. They add sugar to sweeteners to make them even more sweet. They add things to fruit. The processors of these things add sugars. They add things always, once more, to make it sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. So you might say to yourself, well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to eat frosted. I'm going to eat Post Toasties, or I'm going to eat Wheaties or something, and I'm not going to add that. And then you look at the list of ingredients, and there's sugar in there. And you're thinking, well, what can I live on? Everything has some sort of sugar in it, some added sugar. Well, there are alternatives. It's called raw food. You could actually live on raw food. Even that has some sugars in it, so you can't eliminate it completely. That's really not the point. The point is that once you set your mind on doing something or on not doing something, the law of inertia immediately comes in there to either keep you at rest or to keep you in the motion that you are already in. And so many of us look at life and we say, okay, I'm in this motion, heading this direction, and I don't necessarily want to be heading in this direction, so I'm going to stop that. How do we stop it? Do we just, white knuckle it and hang on for all we're worth and dig our heels in and stop, 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 stop? Meanwhile, the thought just keeps coming in there every moment, all the time. Not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it. And all our mind focuses on is do it, do it, do it, do it. So we're working against ourselves. This law of inertia is so strong and so active. It's working on ourselves in a psychological way, in a mental way, and in a spiritual way? No. It's not working on us in a spiritual way. Spirit is outside of the laws of anything. Why? Because spirit, there's only one spirit. That spirit is that thing which we call God. And then we're all connected to it in some way. We each have this little spark of this divine in us. It's not in us like a raisin in a bun, but it's in us. It permeates everything about us. Now, within spirit exists all the laws of time, the laws of space. All those laws exist within spirit. So spirit is not necessarily outside of it, but everything is inside of that. So spirit is not affected by that. So if any one of us want to change something in our lives, to alter a behavior, to change a pattern of thoughts that keep recurring and recurring and recurring, we cannot do it alone by mental and physical energy. We just can't do it. Because we're working against something. Now, we can help alter it. I've been to many sales courses, and many of you have too. You're in sales or have been in sales at some point. And one of the things that I learned that works so well is to say to the person that you're trying to influence to buy something or make a decision to do something, one way or the other, is to point out the benefit to them. You see, one of the ways that we can stop these behaviors on a mental and physical level is to start looking at the benefit to us. This gives us the incentive to do it. I did this with smoking. Yeah, I used to be a smoker. I smoked for a long time. Started smoking when I was about 16 years old. Smoked till I was 39. Kept doing it all the time. One thing and one thing only completely took away the desire to quit smoking. But before I got to that place where the desire went away, what occurred to me is to try to find benefits to me. There's a great health benefit in that and in other things that we do in our lives. A wonderful health benefit. It's well known that people that don't smoke live longer. Just live longer. Have fewer other diseases in the whole course of their lives. So that's really good. The second one, money. You save a lot of money when you don't smoke. Thirdly, people like you better. They want to be around you more. Do you remember those commercials they used to have? Kissing someone who smokes is like licking an ashtray. Do you remember those? Well, some of you don't. You were too young to remember those, but many of us do remember these commercials. It was some young girl that is no longer a young girl. I can't remember what her name is now. But she would come on television and say that. These were anti-smoking. Those kind of things did affect me on a mental level, and they affected me emotionally somewhat because I saw there was a benefit in it. One person finally said to me something. He said, it looks stupid going around with smoke coming out of your head. I never pictured it that way, but it's really true. Smoke coming out of your head. That helped a little bit. But finally, one thing actually made the difference. And here's how that happened for me. How that law of inertia was changed for me. Rather than continue in this same motion. Now, by the way, I was quitting. I was doing a pretty good job of quitting. But I was still thinking about it. Why? Because I was saying to myself, you are quitting smoking. And the universe said, you are smoking. You are a smoker. He kept saying that over and over. Instead of me saying I am a non-smoker, I thought, use my Unity principles. I am a non-smoker. I am a smoker. That's what the universe hears. And so it kept feeding thoughts into me. My brain, my body is feeding him there. I'm having dreams, I'm smoking, and I'm thinking, quit. I have to start. I have to do that all over again. All those sort of things were happening. Then somebody said something to me which changed it all. They said, why don't you just ask God to take the desire away? And so I did. And I haven't thought about it again since. I haven't felt it. Nothing. It just went away because I asked Spirit to remove it. And it was gone. Now, did that mean that the law of inertia quit working in that moment? No. It's just meant that I changed. All those tendencies that were in me became at rest. And they will tend to stay at rest. All the tendencies that are in me now to move forward on this new path are in motion. And they will tend to stay in motion. Body, that can be a body of thought. It can be a body itself. It can be a big boulder coming down a hill, an avalanche, whatever it might be. All of these things still operate under this system. Oftentimes we say, God is principle. But what we really mean behind that is that God, Spirit, establishes principle. And principle works every time. That's why the law of inertia works, the law of mind action works, the law of gravity works. All these different laws that we have in existence work because Spirit establishes these things. Now, all of us, each one of us, have a tendency to do or think or behave a certain way. Each one of us can examine our lives, and probably have been for a long time, examine our lives and decide, make the decision to change those things. As we make this decision, we set certain things in motion, but most of them are useless, unnecessary, if we don't have it linked together with Spirit. Scripture tells us something very similar to this. It says, unless a man who builds has God building, all his building is in vain. Unless the Lord builds a building, all this building is in vain. Meaning that your intention has to come from Spirit first. Spirit has to be doing that. I'll give you another example in my own life. When I was a singer in Nashville, I would come in to sing for all sorts of different products. Didn't matter what it was. I just walked in the door and said, what are we singing today? And they put it in front of me. Oh, it's a Subaru commercial. And I would sing it, or it would be a Budweiser commercial, or whatever it might be. And what I did when I first started doing this is what I call monitor myself, or be on both sides of the glass, if you understand that about a studio. There's a piece of glass up there, there's a control room in there, there's a studio out here where you're standing in front of a microphone. And I would allow my mind to be on both sides of the glass at the same time. In other words, I was trying to monitor what I was doing in order to do it very well. You can't do that. You can't do it. It's very much like playing drums. You can't sit there and try to think about what this hand is doing and what this hand is doing separately. It's an internalized thing where everything's moving at once, and you can't stop to think about it, because when you do, the whole thing comes crashing down. Same thing with piano or any other instrument, or driving a car, or whatever it might be. There's this internalized thing that's going on. So finally, I stopped sitting there reading the lyrics and wondering and trying to pronounce them exactly right, and wondering if I was doing it correctly, and if I'm hitting the right notes, and if I'm on the beat, and all that sort of thing, and if I'm phrasing it the way they want it to be inside the studio. And I stopped doing that. And I started saying to myself, when I'd hear the drummer in my head, they'd already recorded the track. And they'd already put a count off on it, so you could hear the drummer in your headphones saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and the thing would begin. I started finally saying to myself, okay, God, take it. I started allowing Spirit to come through me. And I didn't worry anymore about singing correctly or incorrectly or anything else. When I'd come in and I'd work with the producer, and it was the first time, he'd say, what kind of direction do you want from me? And I said, I'm going to give you everything I've got. Your job is simply to choose what you want and pull me back. It's much easier than trying to pull it out of me. I'm just going to give you everything. You pull it back. I don't like that. I don't like that. We'll trim it off. We'll just prune this thing into something we want. Okay, God, take it. Use that in your own lives. Every morning, let that be your prayer. Okay, God, take it. Take me. Use me. Do what you wish with me now. What will happen for you in your life is that those things that are in motion that you don't want to be in motion will cease of their own accord. Those things that you need to be in motion, which are not in motion, will start moving. They will start being propelled and impelled by an impulse from God, which will tell you, this is for my best benefit. The benefit for you in life, in following the spiritual law of inertia, is that your life will change in ways that will help you, help others, and allow all of us to live a peaceful, success-filled, and happy life. God bless.